Okay, you all read the title of the video. Today we will be discussing how can an average civilized planet with minimal resources repel an invasion force from a world eater warband. To set the scenario, we are in charge of a small civilized mining planet on the outskirts of the Imperial territory. We only have 10 million people and a decent but not particularly large industrial base. We have received reports that in approximately a month the whole planet is gonna get attacked by a world eater force, numbering 100 Astartes and 100,000 plus cultists. Since Chaos Warband numbers have huge variations, going anywhere from 10 Astartes all the way up to 10,000. And also taking into account that World Eaters are one of the most depleted and the least organized legions out there, attacking some no-named mining planet, I think that these numbers should be pretty realistic. Next thing to mention is that the World Eater Warband will only have a couple militarized transport ships, so their orbital bombardments will be of, let's just say, limited usefulness. Okay, let's start off the scenario, but just before we do, more than 86% of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so if you enjoy this one, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Okay, enough shilling, let's actually get into it, with the first step, that being mobilization and manpower availability. 1% of the population, or 100,000 people, would already be employed by either the or militarized police / paramilitary formations. They could be utilized on the front lines, but due to chaos fuckery, their better employment is as a city guardian force, destroying any chaos uprisings or fighting off any chaos invaders should they ever somehow get into the city. Next, you would have another 4% or 400,000, mostly comprising of old dudes who were previously in the PDF, but due to their old age are now either doing bureaucratic governmental jobs or sitting in retirement. As these guys already went through basic training, they could be almost immediately converted into at least a semi-effective fighting force. Now, of course, due to their old age, they can't be expected to perform any complex operations, so their best employment is as either a city street ambushing force or a militarized police helping the Arbites. Next, you would have 5% or 500,000 people in the PDF. These guys are already at least semi-well equipped and can be expected to at least shoot somewhat accurately. Next, you could probably conscript 10% or 1 million of the population into the military. These guys will have bare minimum basic training and equipment. As such, they can't be expected to perform any complex operations. This would mean that 20% of the population would be employed by the military, which is realistically the most that you can get away with anymore, and you are risking catastrophic economic devastation. Okay, with that said, let's estimate how much equipment we can make. And I gotta be upfront, what I'm gonna do now isn't gonna be the most realistic, since I'll be calculating the manufacturing capabilities based upon GDP. Meanwhile, to get more accurate figures, you would have to do it by calculating man-hour requirements and resource availability. But no exaggeration, to make up those figures and list them would take me an entire hour, and to calculate them would take me another. So we are sticking with simplified GDP figures. So average GDP per person on Earth is roughly 22,000 USD annually. So 22,000 times 10 million people equals 220 billion. So dividing it by 12, since we only have 1 month to prepare, we have an allowance of 18 billion. Now let's calculate the cost of equipping this new army formation using bare minimum equipment. Also, this one won't be as thorough as my guard video, simply due to time constraints, so go watch that one if you are autistically interested in numbers. Anyway, minimal kit for guardsmen. Since they will be mostly fighting around the city, they will have bare bones kit. Lasgun 2k, uniform 1k, 2 Panzerfausts 1k, overall that's 4k per soldier. That's 4 billion overall. Next we have artillery. We'll be utilizing 76mm artillery since it's the smallest caliber that has a chance of damaging Astartes. The Astartes from the newer war, that is. Don't worry, I'll explain later on in the video what I mean. We need 10,000 guns per artillery division. Because we have 2 artillery divisions, that's 20,000 artillery guns overall. 76 caliber artillery system costs roughly 20,000 USD, so that's 400 million overall. Next up are mines. We need 500,000 mines. With a cost of 200 USD per anti-tank mine, that's 100 million USD overall. Next up are thermobaric weapons. We need roughly 500 million USD for them. Don't worry, I'll explain what those are later on in the video as well. Next, TDs. We need roughly 10,000 ZIS-30 lookalike mobile anti-tank platforms with a larger caliber, preferably 80 to 90 mm. Average cost of this ZIS-90 would be roughly 50,000 USD, which is another 500 million USD overall. We would also need another 1 billion for other expenses like ammo, fuel, Panzerfaust for the older PDF and so on, which leaves us with an extra 2.5 billion, which we can spend on other things like construction. Now let's cover step by step what you need to do after you calculate your available manpower. Step 1. Tell everyone to relocate to the capital city of the planet. Then tell them to bring all of their machinery, belongings and food with them. After that, tell farmers to cut their crops immediately, regardless of their maturity, and to send them to the capital city, where they would get an IOU saying that the government will give them 3 times the fair market price of the product after the invasion is dealt with. Then you can start making the defenses around the city. But just before we do that, I have to address something, which is just how powerful are Astartes. We'll be using New War from the Siege of Terra books for this scenario, where they are shown to move at 70 miles per hour on flat uninterrupted surfaces, which is the speed of a pickup truck. But this is their max speed on perfect terrain. Next, they can carry 10 tons in their armor and 5 tons outside of it. I'll stop power scaling them here because I already made a video on the topic and none of the other stats really matter all that much. And in that video I also calculated the armor protection, which would be roughly equivalent to the real life plate of steel that's 100 to 175 mm thick. Sherman's 76mm gun could penetrate 178 mm of steel, so it's right on the edge of what the artillery that we chose for this scenario can penetrate. But since it's artillery gun, it would probably have a bit less penetration. But Space Marines also have weak points in their armor, not all of it is protected by plate, and it can also be degraded with multiple hits to the same spot. Okay, with that said, let's actually start talking about the defenses. First, at 13 kilometers, which is the max range of the 76mm artillery pieces, there should be absolutely nothing. But you should pre-sight and equip a couple of your artillery guns with chemical shells, and once you see the Chaos Invaders charging at you from that direction, let them loose. Some Khorne berserkers usually opt to not wear helmets into combat. As such, this gas attack might somewhat irritate them. But that's not the point. The point is that because basically no cultists wear masks, they will all be separated from their Astarte contingent, or simply choke to death in a poisonous cloud of gas. Then, whilst getting peppered by airburst shrapnel artillery, berserkers with no infantry support would arrive at the second obstacle, that being a large anti-tank ditch. Again, no issue for the Astartes, they can simply jump over it, but because Khorne cares not for the bridging equipment, their rhinos and heavy vehicles would have to remain on the other side. Next comes the minefield. Here, as to not set off any mines, Imperium would use smoke shells, which would hamper the visibility of the Astartes and make their chances of stepping on a landmine that much higher. And no, OSPEC sensors probably can't help you with this one. We saw numerous times in war guard regiments equipped with them getting ambushed or rolling into traps like minefields. And to those that say that mines can't kill Astartes, yes they can. Lucius the Internal literally died to one. The only reason we don't see them more in action is simply because of the rule of cool. Anyway, after the traitors exit the minefield, they would enter the next defensive line, that being the artillery zone. This is a pre-sighted area of fire, where the majority of the artillery would fire into in order to hit the Marines enough times to, if not straight up kill them, then at least puncture their armor in several places, which would weaken them sufficiently for the next defensive line, that being the Thermobaric line. Let me explain for those that don't know. Thermobaric weapons are a type of explosive that upon detonation disperses a cloud of fuel, be it gas, liquid or powder, that then ignites, creating a powerful high temperature explosion, using the surrounding air's oxygen. Basically what they do is that if you are in an enclosed space, like let's say a bunker, they create a unique pressure wave that cooks and crushes you inside of it. Thermobaric weapons are like something straight out of 40K. And guess what? Every Astarte is a man in a bunker, or more accurately a power armor. At best, honest, they are getting their organs ruptured and destroyed, yes, even the mechanical ones, getting their skin and eyes burnt off and having their eardrums ruptured. Thermobaric weapons are literally pinpoint perfect counter to Astartes. Even if some Astartes survive, they will then come to the first trench line, where motorized SPG, las cannons, las rifles, RPG, Panzerfausts and many other weapons would open fire on them. Even if 90% of them miss, which would be highly improbable, you are still getting hit with hundreds of explosives, las boats, grenades and anti-tank shells. So yeah, good luck, you're fucked. But even if the Astartes somehow manage to break through this, they will enter the city, where they would be under constant danger from Panzerfausts and grenades getting dropped upon them from surrounding houses. Or you know, even IEDs placed around the corners of the city blocks just waiting for them to show up. But even if they achieve this and reach the center of the hive, they would be facing 10,000 artillery pieces, shooting fragmentation and armor-piercing shells at their general direction. If they charge them for a melee fight, as berserkers are known to do, they are getting absolutely smoked by several tons of lead and TNT heading right at them. Now, as for cultists, they would either all be dead or waiting behind a cloud of poison gas, patiently just waiting for their masters to return. Once you deal with the Astarte contingent, keep peppering the cultists with artillery and sniper fire and wait for them to either suicide charge into you or starve to death. Okay, that would be it. If you liked this video, remember to smash the like button, comment down below if you agree or believe that I made a mistake somewhere. Until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.